Welcome back to Secret Weapons. My name is Mark Johnston, and if this is your first time here, this is a YouTube channel where we talk gear. We talk guitar gear, pedals, studio gear, all broadly from the perspective of a guitar player, mostly working out of a studio. If that's the kind of thing that would appeal to you, please hit the subscribe button and stick around for future videos. If you want to support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon down below, which is the endpoint for my private Discord community, one of my favorite, if not my favorite place on the internet. If you want to support the channel, check that out. But today we are taking a look at the Beetronics SeaBee Lite edition. So I covered the original SeaBee chorus pedal from Beetronics a couple of years ago here on the channel. And I remember being struck by a pretty familiar sense of ambition from Beetronics. As with almost everything they do, they take a core and kind of like well-worn idea and imbue it with some new life, some really big, crazy swings, and a lot of ambition. And that pedal was basically a stereo analog chorus with a bunch of crazy lo-fi and modulation stuff tacked onto it and built into it, including but not limited to a full-on like pitch shifting arpeggiating mode with like individual like tuned steps and everything. A really ambitious and cool piece of gear, as well as the kind of gear that I could definitely see a lot of people going, there's some great key chorus sounds in there, but man, I do not need all the really big, ambitious, crazy stuff. And I get that. This channel, if you've been around here for any amount of time, tends to cover some of the more bizarre and ambitious and kind of esoteric pedals in our industry. And I very frequently hear from people that they are turned off by the weirder sides of some gear. So the inclusion of something like the SeaBee Lite edition might be a pretty welcome change of pace for some people. This retains that classic analog chorus sound of the original SeaBee, but strips away some of the more bizarre stuff, the arpeggiating, pitch shifting craziness, and parses it down to some key sounds. This is a chorus pedal. Technically it's a chorus and vibrato, but it is a chorus pedal at its core and almost an exclusion. Your control scheme up top is feedback, rate, and depth. Basically, you've got your classic two-band rate and depth with feedback to kind of push it into more flanging territory as you really kind of start to get some more extreme settings in here. You have a bypass switch, a tap tempo switch, a series of onboard presets that can be banked through and marqueed through. And then you have three switches at the bottom. You have an EQ switch on the leftmost side of the pedal that goes from flat, low pass, and high pass. And for clarity, that is only going to apply to the modulated signal in here. If you are in chorus mode, which is dry signal stacked with modulated signal, you are just carving frequencies out of the wet channel itself. On the right side, you have the ability to switch between chorus and vibey mode, which is basically going to be chorus and vibrato. Vibrato, of course, being modulated signal, no dry signal, and chorus being that blend of modulated and dry signal. And in the middle, you have a 3-position that goes from classic in the middle, which is going to be that classic SeaBee chorus sound. On the right, you have wobbly, which is going to take you in more of a tape modulation direction, more random shapes to the LFO driving that control, as well as an overall more lo-fi kind of sensibility to the tone. And then on the left side, you have flangy, which is going to be more of a flanged chorus kind of effect. Once again, that feedback is going to be a big proponent of kind of getting the most out of that. You have your input on the right side. You have a MIDI and expression input above that. And then on the other side of the pedal, you've got your mono and your stereo outputs. This can be configured to do classic chorus, dry out over one channel and wet out over the other one, or in vibey mode, wet channel over both of them. Or there is a startup configuration control for inverting the polarity of the wet signal in the pedal, giving you access to, instead of like a wet dry kind of thing, a much wider, more like almost Dimension C inspired chorus sound. And there's some really great benefits to that kind of like wider phase inverted modulation spectrum. Things like those acoustics on that intro song are recorded mono into Pro Tools and then reamped out through the SeaBee to give it that sense of kind of width, while still maintaining a very slow and subtle amount of actual chorusing movement. The goal was not to create warbly acoustic guitars. The goal was to, in that case, use the SeaBee Lite to basically smear the acoustics across the spectrum versus traditional dual miking or double tracking. But we will get into all the benefits of all those different sounds because our sound samples are, of course, going to be in stereo. So I think having said all of that, let's go ahead and get into our sound samples and give the SeaBee Lite a listen. So as always, before getting to our sound samples, let's talk through our signal chain and the context we're working in. I am playing my Heritage Ascent Plus 535 hollow body directly into the Benson Monarch Reverb Plus. We're going out of the speaker output into the Bad Cat Pure Path into the input of the Warm Audio WA273. We're running into the effects insert on the 273 to get mono in, stereo out of the SeaBee, allowing us to use kind of a single amplifier to run a stereo image signal. Let's go ahead and hear our clean tone. So we have rate and depth about noon. We have feedback at minimum. We are in classic mode and chorus mode with neither the high pass or the low pass engaged. Let's go ahead and hear this at its kind of most basic chorusy. While we're in this kind of really straightforward chorus mode, let's go ahead and play with rate and depth, and then we'll bring in that feedback. As you can hear, we are basically controlling modulation on the left side of our mix. This is obviously adjustable, as we said earlier, where the secondary control, but right now we're kind of doing classic chorusing where this actually makes more sense, collapsing left and right signals into mono. So we're going to do that now. Okay, let's go ahead and jump over to vibrato. So as you can hear now, we have modulation happening on both the left and right sides, but with no image in the middle. So that chorus, as you could hear, was still grounding our dry signal in the mix. You can hear that center channel. Over here, no center channel. Just rising and falling modulations. You also do have access to the ability to boost either the rate or the depth by pressing and holding the foot switches on the left and right sides. The right side is going to be a depth boost. The left side is going to be a rate boost because the left side is also your tap tempo. So far we've been in classic modulation mode this entire time. Let's go ahead and move to the left for flangy, not Regina. This is going to give us less overall delay time. The classic has 10 milliseconds of delay for that modulation. This goes down to 5, but has a much stronger regen control. Let's do that classic, very deep, very slow, lots of regen. Let's go ahead and slow that back down to something a little bit more reasonable and jump over to this lo-fi mode, the wobble mode or wobbly mode. This is going to be more delay time for lusher modulation, but also is going to have, as you can see by the lighting of the two modulation lights on both sides, it's going to give you more unpredictability in its movement and kind of a lo-fi, worn out tape texture quality to it. Let's go back over to that vibrato-y mode so that we can play a little bit with these filters, because this kind of broken, weird, lo-fi texture works really well for vibrato, or for the high-pass, low-pass stuff. So, and you're going to get a more extreme version of it if you have your wet signal taken out. Okay, let's kind of create something really vibey. So we've got this. Let's crank up the reverb send on my amp. So there's a handful of global settings controls that you have in the SeaBee Lites, including things like input level set for instrument or line level, -20 decibels, and the way that the multi-jack operates. But the one that is important for sound samples, the one that I want to call attention to because I used it a lot on that intro track, is the relationship between the dry and the wet sounds for the generation of stereo images. So what we're going to do is pull the power, press down on the right foot switch while we apply power, like this. And now that we're in this flashing mode, we're going to go to our leftmost foot switch here and go to the left position. In the right, you are wet, dry, left, right. And in the right position, or in the left position, you are no longer in wet, dry, but you are in a wet inverted mode, which is going to create additional kind of depth and stereo field across all modes here. It's also going to carve out a lot more frequencies, so use it at your own peril. Go ahead and press and hold that foot switch to save your settings and exit. And now, when we go to that kind of classic chorus sound, so dry tone, switch in the middle, everything kind of like standard. Originally, we heard a pretty normal amount of stereo chorusing happening, left-to-right relationship, that kind of thing. Now you're going to get something a little bit more, I would say, Dimension C related. As you can hear, use it at your own peril.